Hello everybody. I have a story that I want to share with you. It's a very personal story. It's going to be a bit emotional, and it kind of spans from last October till right now and involves two key families. I have so much fondness for both of them, and they both are responsible for me being here today doing this video, and I want to share that connectedness. I feel a lot of joy in my heart. I feel a lot of gratitude. I feel like God has been merciful and that He's used the Willard family and He's used the Kirkland family, and I want to bring forth to you the series of events in chronology as they happened, in the order they happened, the sequence. And personally for me, it's very amazing. It's a very touching story. It shows the power of the human spirit, that love is greater than cancer. I want to say right off the bat to the Willard family that I feel, at least in part, I owe my present health and ability to fight Burkitt's lymphoma to Sean and Mickey. And I thank you, Mickey, for posting that picture back around January, February of Sean holding that really amazing sandwich. And that was what I first noticed. And I'm like, that boy can eat. He's got hollow legs. And I bet he's still hungry after he eats them sandwiches and soda and chips and whatever else. And then I noticed the knot on his neck. And the knot on his neck is exactly right where the knot on my neck is. And I'll explain that here in a little bit. So here goes. When I first started with this journey, it was June 4th. I shaved like I normally do, went to work. I worked the night shift at the hospital as an RN in a neonatal ICU. And if you look at the picture, you can see that knot. It was not there when I shaved the prior afternoon. For those who are not familiar with Burkitt's lymphoma, it has one characteristic that makes it extremely unique. It is the world's fastest cancer, doubles in size approximately every 24 hours. And I'm here to tell you that knot was not visible when I did the old shave thing in my neck and looked in the mirror and made sure it all looked good before I went to work. And then about 1 in that morning, I reached up and it just started growing. And I just felt it. It didn't hurt. I don't know why I reached up and touched my neck. And I immediately went to the pod partners, the other RNs that were in that pod, and I said, do y'all see the same thing I feel? And they said, yes, we see it. And the first thing out of my mouth was, gee, that's in the same spot as this grandson of this really neat lady named Mickey. They all know about my Burkitt's battle from 2008. They all know that I'm involved in the Burkitt's Lymphoma Society. If it hadn't been for that picture of Sean with his knot, I would not have immediately contacted my oncologist first thing in the morning. I have had my lymph glands in my neck swell up in the last 6 years. And they usually give antibiotics and it goes away real quick. In my default mode, because I felt really good, my default mode would have been to go to the doctor, get some antibiotics, and watch it. I mean, we would have watched it. But I would not have moved so fast to go straight to my oncologist. I know I wouldn't have. And that is my gratitude I feel toward Mickey for posting that picture, Sean for being a good sport and letting his grandmother pick on him with that camera of hers. And I noticed, though, he seemed to find a mirror and he'd snap a shot, so he's not afraid of a camera, that's for sure. And that's a good thing. I immediately got on the forum and the Burkitt's private group and started sharing with them. I got to my oncologist about 6 days later is when she would get me in, and she was concerned, and it had grown by then. They got a biopsy within 15, 16 days, and they confirmed on the spot it was lymphoma. And then they said, we will know in approximately 4 days or so. I think it was a Thursday we did the biopsy, I think. It might have been Friday. And then my oncology appointment was Monday afternoon. And they said by Monday afternoon we will know if it's Burkitt's or which kind of cancer that you have. That's when I put out my first video of this type, and I said I have lymphoma again, dang it. And I knew my life was about to change. I'd already been through this once. I wasn't sure as to what degree. And then on Monday afternoon went to the oncology appointment, and she said it was Burkitt's. And that's real hard to hear. I came home and I made the video, I have bad news. If it had not been for that picture of Sean, I would not have been able to move so quick. It was already in stage 2. It started as one nodule, one tumor, and that's stage 1. The PET scan, because naturally they had to do a PET scan, and it revealed stage 2, and you could see these like 2 lines coming out, and you could see where the tumor was starting to wrap around my neck. And it's the lymphatic system, and it was going to spread around my body. To give you an example, January 2008, when I got ill, in 4 weeks I went from being a healthy, normal guy to barely being able to walk, lost a lot of weight, was sweating nonstop, extremely ill, stage 4B, Burkitt's lymphoma. Well, this was now 2 weeks into it. And if I hadn't moved that fast, the next 2 weeks would have seen me progress from stage 2 to at least stage 3, possibly stage 4. That's why I feel gratitude to you, Mickey. And, you know, I hope this doesn't sound a bit grandiose, but in my heart it's true. Sean is the reason, that picture of Sean is the reason that I am in as good a shape as I am right now, and I have a fighting chance. So I started chemotherapy, and I decided to continue with these videos. It would be a lot easier than putting a message on Facebook, which gets 60%, 70% of the people I know, send out an email list, and then phone calls from family and friends. And there's a lot of colleagues and co-workers I've worked with over the years at hospitals and in dialysis clinics that we've maintained contact. And I thought the videos would be the easiest way to get a message out. Most people could hear the same thing. So the video part was working. During my first round of chemotherapy, my colleagues in the NICU did a really cool thing. They started up some fundraisers. Now, I'm not going to repeat the information. It is real important that y'all do this for me. Watch the video called "You Never Know the Impact You Have on Others." Please. Watch that video. It's part 1 of this video. This is now part 2, tying together the bigger picture that I have not shared with y'all yet. You see, I thought I had wasted my cancer recovery from the first time. And what I found out through that fundraiser, as my colleagues kept walking up and saying, well, you received another gift, and they asked me to tell you the following. And over, I kept getting these messages. It says, if God put me in a room on the 7th floor in Harris Methodist, and made me listen to people who loved me. And it pretty well broke me down in a good way. And I finally realized I hadn't wasted my recovery. I just went about it a little different. And that's what I share in that video. You never know the impact. I didn't get the video published until I got home. I was discharged, I think, that Monday. And on Thursday, July 10th, somewhere in that time frame, I had taken a picture of a sunflower with my iPhone. And I thought the picture turned out really nice. It's at 7 a.m. on July 10th. I was ready to publish the video. I was going to put up a picture of a sunflower as my cover photo on Facebook. And then I was going to wrap up making videos and start winding it down. I had already made this quiet decision I wasn't going to continue. And that morning was quite fateful. That day was quite fateful. I'm really into photography, and I had trouble deciding to put that picture of that sunflower. I wanted to do it, but after all the outpouring of love that was going on and support, I just thought, it's not a time for nice, pretty flowers on my cover photo. I need to show pictures of the colleagues who came up and they were giving me hugs and they were bringing me food, and and family was coming to visit, and cousins, and I thought this is a time to honor relationships and families. But something in me just wanted to put that sunflower up. And against my better judgment, I went ahead and did that. But I kind of had to tell myself, Robert, get over it. Publish the picture of the stinking flower on your cover page. Well, I didn't realize the power of the flower. Sorry, but I put that picture up. I released the video on YouTube. Was sitting at the table about 1 in the afternoon when Janice, my wife, handed me the mail and said, please make sure that you open up the cards, because you got several cards. And I want y'all to see the first card I opened. And it says, God will see you through this. And it's a picture of a sunflower. And I thought, wow, isn't that a coincidence? I never struggle with putting a picture on Facebook or anywhere. I have a gazillion pictures. I love posting them. I'll change them out, and it's a neat thing. And the reason I struggle with this one, I couldn't tell you. Except suddenly here was a sunflower in my hand saying, God will see you through this. And I thought, isn't that interesting? And I opened it up to read it. And there's real nice testimony from a lady I have never met. So I've already had Sean Willard and Mickey Willard. I've never met them in person, but they had already influenced my life in a good way. And now enters the Kirkland family. Linda Kirkland sent this card to me, and she sent a card also to my wife. And I contacted her and asked her permission to share the first few sentences of this, because I really think y'all need to hear what was said. Nobody knew I was going to wind down these videos. They had been very successful, but quite honestly, when they gave me drugs and stuff in the hospital, I was kicking out these videos, and some of them a little bit TMI. And once I went back and watched them and was a little removed, I don't remember putting out 2 of the videos, and that really scared me. No recollection whatsoever. And I was over there just giving out my email and giving out my telephone number, and because I was thinking family. I was not thinking others would really pay attention. Well, here's a lady from the Burkitt's Lymphoma Society, a mom, and she lost her son to Burkitt's lymphoma. And here's what she said. I started reading this and I stopped reading it when I was sitting at the table, and I had gathered Janice and Mom and Jody and whoever else was there. And I said, y'all need to hear this. This is really profound. And I want you to know that every time I read this, I feel like I'm standing on holy ground. And I don't say that lightly or cheeky. I believe that the affections, the desires, and the hope in the human heart are one of the greatest, if not the greatest thing that exists in all of created humanity. And I believe that's what God wants, and I believe that's why we get stirred so easily. We call it inspired or touched by others. Somehow it breathes life into our spirits. Here's what Linda had to say. I really didn't know Linda, but I guess, maybe she'd seen me on the Burkitt Lymphoma Society and decided to watch my videos. Robert, thank you so much for sharing your journey with all of us. I look forward each day to seeing what news you have to share. I never got to see my son while he was ill. And I never saw him again until the military opened his casket for me one last time after his memorial service. Seeing you post your journey gives me somewhat of an idea of what my son was going through and gives me the sense of belonging. I guess that makes sense? Every day I hurt for my son. Every day I pray for you. I cry at each one of your videos. I actually fall apart. I don't know if it is helping me or hurting me, but I feel I am supposed to follow your journey for some sort of healing. Let me highlight a couple of things and then I'll move on from this point. Gives me somewhat of an idea of what my son was going through and gives me a sense of belonging. My videos were provoking prayer or evoking prayer from her heart for me. And she was still undecided if it's helping or hurting, but Linda decided that she needed to follow this journey of mine in hopes that it would provide some portion of healing. If Linda hadn't set that card, I'm pretty sure that I would not be making these videos today. And I took the name of my blog and my videos, Walking Through This Together, because of her card. I realize that as I walk through this, if I will share my heart, maybe, even if it's just one person, but I suspect there's others who are hurting from cancer or grief and loss of a loved one, that they might find an ounce of that sense of belonging, that connection, and maybe a little bit of healing. Linda, thank you for that card. If it had not been for you and your thoughtfulness in sending that card, I really don't think I would be putting these videos out today. I had already decided to shut them down. Honestly, I felt embarrassed. I felt ashamed. And once I realized a lot of people were watching and they were kind of just had moved beyond just family, which was my primary intent, I thought maybe I was just doing these for the wrong reasons. So I had to re-examine my motives on why I was doing this. And honestly, it is good therapy for me. It's not always easy to put these videos out, but I decided to do it. Okay, so we have Sean fighting for his life. He started a year ago, October 2013, I believe, is when he was first diagnosed. And let me tell you what, his grandmother, Mickey Willard, is a fireball in every good way. She got on the Burkitt Lymphoma Society in the private page, and she utilized every good aspect that it exists for. And Mickey, you deserve Grandmother of the Century Award. You do. And I suspect that the apples don't fall far from the tree, and that the whole Willard family is just amazing like you. I started corresponding with Mickey behind the scenes. She asked me some things about MD Anderson, and my primary piece of advice was get him into a room. I said, whatever you do, get him into a room. They'll try to turn away, there'll be things happen, but once he's in, he's in. And if there's help to be had, you'll be surprised how they'll walk in the room and say something to the effect of, well, you know, we do have this one trial going on and we think he might be a candidate. Guess what happened? But that wasn't the end of Sean's battle. They did what they could do at MD Anderson. His tumor had been slowed down, but was not regressing. Really at any stage. They seem to every once in a while kind of give it a good punch, if you will, and slow it down, maybe knock it a little bit. It would adapt and start growing. And she sent me some couple of pictures as his tumor progressed, and it was hard to see, and it brought tears to my eyes. And she kept me updated. And we talked a time or two on the phone. And then I got in touch with Sean, and I found out that Sean was quite the character. And I said, Sean, my tumor is bigger than your tumor. A little guy humor inference there. And Sean was quick to respond, kind sir, I disagree with you. If you will just look at the picture. And I couldn't help but laugh. And you know, he was absolutely right, unfortunately, that his tumor was much bigger than mine. And I wish his tumor hadn't been. And we talked a time or two more. And he always had a real positive attitude and a good sense of humor. His grandmother shared with me that he never complained. He really didn't ask things from people. And as every stage of losing an inch of the battle here and there, she would come back to the private page on the forum and, does anybody know how to do this? What do you think we could do to battle nausea? What kind of food can we get in him that he might be able to keep? And it was, I'm going to tell you something, people. It's impressive to see the support that goes on in there. Because nobody can really understand how bad it is until you're right in the middle of it and you are fearing for your life or your loved one's life. And I thank God we have such an amazing place to go for support, ideas. We celebrate a lot of victories there. A lot of people make it. And every single time somebody doesn't make it, it always hurts. And it hurts anywhere from a little bit to a whole lot. As Linda shared in her video, there's a connectedness, a sense of belonging. It's like a shared hope. And then it can become a shared grief. Sean was a brother in the battle against Burkitt's lymphoma. And if it had not been for his picture and his grandmother and the good support, I don't know that I would be here today. He not only served his country in the military with his life while he was living, he not only loved and he not only was just so many great things, but even in his passing, Sean has done something for me personally. And I told everybody at work that when this first started, I said, if I hadn't seen this picture, I would think it was an infection and at least go that route first. Burkitt's doesn't return 6 years later. It's extremely rare. If it returns, it does so in the first year, maybe 2. About 6 years out, it's just nearly unheard of. I'd kind of put it out of my mind, to be honest with you. Sunday night, I went to bed, knowing that Monday I was coming in to start my stem cell transplant. And I didn't sleep real well. Woke up about 4 in the morning, wasn't really upset or anything, maybe a touch of anxiety, because I realized this is going to get difficult. They started the chemo today, and it knocked me out pretty good, and now I've got a headache I'm trying to battle. But this is the beginning. But what was harder for me was I looked around the house and all the blessings that God has given me and the wonderful family. And I felt just a twinge of melancholy, a little bit of sadness that I was going to leave for a month. I'm willing to do what I need to do. But I'm human, and I had some emotion over it. And then, because I couldn't sleep, I opened up Facebook. And there it was, in the forum, in the private group. Mickey thanking us all for the support, and that Sean had passed on Sunday. And it killed me. I prayed and I prayed for a miracle for him. I so bad wanted to see him make it. I wanted to be sure that I got out here and shared the story about Sean being a reason that I'm in as good a shape as I am today. Let me tell you something, people. You need to love without reserve, forgive unconditionally, and do everything you can to honor the greatest commandment, to honor God. You don't know when your time's up on this earth, and it can happen so fast. And it hurts. It really hurts. I dedicate this video to Sean Willard, Seth Kirkland, and their families. Your love is alive, and you're still impacting us today.